Have you thought about why some people do not just get sick but seem to get inflamed? Why does the body become a battlefield of heat, irritation, infection, urgency, and inner pressure? And is it possible that the sixth house, when filtered through Ayurvedic intelligence, reveals not only disease patterns but the very logic of imbalance? Today, you and I are going to deeply reflect upon one of the most important healing principles in Jyotish Ayurveda, Pitta rising in the sixth house. This is not a casual topic. This is a serious diagnostic and contemplative field for healers, Ayurvedic physicians, astrology students, and New Age practitioners who want to understand how fire behaves when it enters the house of disease, immunity, conflict, and correction. You need to understand the sixth house properly. The sixth house is not merely the house of enemies. It is the house of acute disease, bodily disturbance, hygiene, immune response, critical thinking, stress handling, and the physiological struggle to restore order. It has clear correspondence with the small intestine, spleen, lower waist region, middle to lower back, lower spine, immune system, and adrenal glands with associated hormones. Now pause here. What happens when Pitta, the hot, sharp, penetrating inflammatory principle, enters this house with force? It does not simply create more energy. It creates combustion inside the disease axis, and that is the key principle. When Pitta rises in the sixth house, the body may begin to fight too hard, the mind may begin to analyze too sharply, the immune system may become too reactive, the digestive fire may stop being intelligent and start becoming aggressive. This is where healing practitioners need discernment. Because in this condition, the body is not always weak. Sometimes it is overactivated. Sometimes the pathology is not collapse, it is over response. The slide makes this very clear. At the level of the small intestine, increased Pitta may show inflammatory bowel tendencies, diarrhea, burning in the abdomen, intestinal ulcers, and sharp abdominal pain. At the level of the immune system, this same fire can manifest as fever, acute infections, inflammatory reactions, skin rashes, and heat eruptions. At the level of the spleen and blood-related inflammatory tendencies, you may observe enlargement, toxicity patterns, or overheated blood expression. At the level of the adrenal axis, you may see high cortisol, competitive stress patterns, overdrive mentality, and a life lived in physiological emergency mode. And at the structural level of the lower spine and lower back, inflammation may localize as hot pain, irritation, and persistent inflammatory discomfort. So the first great insight is this. Pitta in the sixth house inflames both digestion and defense, and that matters immensely because the small intestine in Ayurveda is not just a tube. It is part of the intelligence of separation, absorption, processing, and discernment. The sixth house also rules critical thoughts. So have you noticed the mirroring? When Pitta increases here, digestion becomes critical, immunity becomes critical, and thinking becomes critical. The person may become sharper but also harsher, more efficient but less forgiving, more disciplined but also more irritated, more driven to solve problems yet more likely to experience life as a series of battles. This is where healers must go deeper than symptom lists. You need to deeply reflect upon the principle that the sixth house is where imbalance becomes work. It is where the body labors. It is where the mind labors. It is where karma often appears as friction, correction, treatment, routine, and discipline. Now let us bring in the planetary symbolism shown in the slide. The image strongly suggests Mars and the Sun. That is not a minor detail because in the planetary health framework, Sun and Mars are both fundamentally Pitta planets. They amplify heat, inflammation, burning, feverishness, sharpness, and intense metabolic pressure. So when you see Mars and Sun energizing this sixth house Pitta theme, you should immediately think of a few layers. First, Mars. Mars is muscular, blood-oriented, hot, eruptive, and acute. It is associated with overheating, fevers, skin rashes, ulcers, lacerations, acute complaints, and inflammatory force. So Mars, in relation to a Pitta activated sixth house, can intensify inflammatory bowel patterns, acute digestive distress, ulcerative tendencies, sharp pain, feverish disease processes, reactive immune flare-ups, and a combative psychology toward illness. Mars says, fight it now, but healing does not always come through fighting harder. Second, the sun. The sun brings heat, intensity, bile, fever, overheating, and a tendency toward dryness through excessive fire. It also connects with intelligence, authority, and central regulation. So when the sun is linked to this theme, the person may not only experience inflammation physically, they may identify with performance, pressure, control, and self-demand so strongly that the body begins to burn under the strain. Now ask yourself, is it possible that what looks like digestive disease is also a lifestyle of internal warfare? Is it possible that the person's immunity is not only reactive because of food, but because of mental heat, competition, perfectionism, and unprocessed anger? This is why Jyotish Ayurveda is so profound. It allows you to see disease as patterned intelligence gone out of balance. The sixth house is the house of correction. Pitta is the principle of transformation. Sun and Mars are fire carriers. So when all of this converges, the being may become extraordinarily capable in crisis, but vulnerable to self-generated inflammation. And this is where many modern people live. They are productive, sharp, competitive, overscheduled, underrested, highly analytical, and secretly inflamed. Their digestion is hot. Their speech is sharp. Their sleep is lighter. Their patience is lower. Their body is always slightly ready for combat. For healers and physicians, this means one thing. Do not read the sixth house only as disease. Read it as the style by which the person resists disharmony. If Pitta dominates, they may resist disorder with force. They may clean aggressively, work aggressively, diagnose aggressively, think aggressively, and even heal aggressively. But too much fire in the healing axis becomes pathology. So what are the deeper manifestations? Mentally, the person may become hypercritical, impatient, intolerant of inefficiency, overly perfectionistic, reactive to disorder, and easily provoked by incompetence. Emotionally, they may carry frustration, irritation, resentment, competitiveness, suppressed anger, or the feeling that they always have to handle everything. Physically, they may show burning digestion, loose stools, inflammatory episodes, skin reactions, fever patterns, acid irritability, adrenal overdrive, and inflammatory pain in the lower back and lower waist. Spiritually, the lesson is even deeper. The sixth house is where humility is learned through imperfection. Pitta often wants precision, mastery, and control. But healing sometimes asks you to soften, cool, surrender, and listen. You need to understand this carefully. The remedy for sixth house Pitta is not laziness. It is intelligent cooling, not passivity, but non-combustive discipline, not suppression, but purification with wisdom, not denial, but regulated fire. For the astrology student, this is an important interpretive principle. Never reduce a sixth house Pitta signature to one symptom. Corroborate multiple indications. The broader framework requires multiple converging signals when assessing health patterns, especially through the disease houses, planetary activation, and doshic expression. For the Ayurvedic physician, this signature invites careful attention to Agni, small intestine inflammation, Rakta Pitta style expressions, stress physiology, adrenal activation, and immune overreaction. For the energy healer or new age practitioner, the message is this. When the inner warrior forgets how to rest, the body begins to carry the fire of unfinished battles. So what is the healing invitation? Cool the system. Reduce excess intensity, restore intelligent routine, make the digestive fire precise, not violent, make the immune system responsive, not overreactive, make the mind discerning, not condemning. And perhaps above all, ask this, where in your life have you turned healing into war? Because the sixth house will show you. It will show you where you are trying too hard, where you are reacting too quickly, where your brilliance has become inflammation, where your discipline has lost tenderness. And once you see that, the chart is no longer a sentence, it becomes a doorway into better observation, better prevention, better timing, better healing. So, if you are a healer, an Ayurvedic physician, an astrology student, or someone walking the New Age healing path, sit with this principle. Pitta in the sixth house is not only about disease, it is about the fire of correction becoming excessive. And your task is not to extinguish the fire completely. Your task is to make it sacred again, balanced, purposeful, discerning, life serving. That is where healing begins.